Mirian, thank you so much for joining us. What are some of the biggest and most urgent issues for indigenous people around the world?
It's different from region to region, country to country, even between communities. But most of the issues that we have here at the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues are land issues, territories, natural resources. People are dying because some states and companies are taking away their lands and territories. They unfortunately don't have the proper access to services, especially education, health. Those are not culturally appropriated. And recently, very sadly, they are migrating not only to the cities, but to different countries. Indigenous peoples also are frequently killed sometimes. They are persecuted because they are defending their territories. So that's also very, very unfortunate. For indigenous women, for example, also is very sad to see that because of these national companies are going into their territories, many issues like violence against indigenous women, trafficking, also are affecting most of them.
You mentioned migration. We're seeing more and more urban indigenous. Can you tell us a little bit about their move into cities and the specific challenges they face?
I think number one would be, as any individual, they would like to have, economic income, but this is related to the lack of opportunities in their own countries. So that's number one, that is, pushing them out of their lands and territories. And once they are in these big cities, they confront the discrimination, marginalizations. They are living not around the services that usually there are in the cities, but also they confront the loss of their languages.
One of the biggest issues of our time, of course, is climate change. What has been the impact of climate change on indigenous communities, especially those with a lot of natural resources?
Indigenous peoples, they count around 476 million in some 90 countries. And they take care of around 80% of the most diverse places in the world. But they still protecting, they are, keeping all the environment as it is. And we can see a climate crisis that is not only affecting indigenous peoples, but also the entire humanity. And they didn't contribute to that. So in this case, because they depend so much on their lands, territories, they are suffering more and more. Because when these companies enter into their homes, they are pushed away, and they don't have a place where to go.
One of the other big issues is the issue of mining, logging, and exploration in some of these lands. Has there been any progress on that front from governments and leaders in those areas?
So I would bring an example that it was really interesting. The issue of the Uyuni Salt Lake, which is now in consideration for the lithium batteries for different issues. And it was very interesting to hear that indigenous peoples from that part of the world, Potosi especially, they come together through their own decision. They organize themselves and they prepare a draft proposal to become a law. And they were asking, that as they are the owners of that particular land, they also should be part of this company, if we would say. They even decided how much of the percentage they need to earn because they want to use that for their own development. We would say development with identity.
When you look across your work at the UN over the years and as a Quechua woman, what do you hope to accomplish and what are your goals for indigenous peoples?
When I came to the United Nations, my hope was, of course, to learn what specifically this big institution was doing for indigenous peoples, but also for the humanity, and especially how we are trying to find the ways to live together, because we have only one planet. I am very glad that at the United Nations, many milestones has been achieved by indigenous peoples. Number one is the adoption of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in 2007. The second one, I would say, is the outcome document of the World Conference on Indigenous Peoples. And of course, because of that also, there was an emergency of indigenous languages. So in 2016, we had an expert group meeting that led member states to think about an international year of indigenous languages. And now we are in a decade of indigenous languages. So those, I would say, huge decisions adopted by the General Assembly show that at international level, indigenous peoples became a key actor.
Mirian Masaquiza, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.